Prepare yourself for Earthling Entertainment with your hosts, Joe and Ryan.
Greetings and welcome to Earthling Entertainment Podcast with Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Hey, I'm Joe Wakefield.
Hey, I'm Ryan Lang.
Oh, that was good. All right, guys. So if you're listening to us for the first time, what we do here is a little bit of the spooky, a little bit of the creepy, sometimes cryptozoology, other times it's ghosts or hauntings, in a section we like to call spooky stuff, followed by a section called Ryan's Disclosure Discussion. It's all about aliens.
I'm just asking questions. UFO stories, UFO footage, stories of aliens, abductions, what the government is releasing. Today we're going to talk about a pilot that saw a UFO right before he disappeared.
Waha! Then the latter half of the episode is dedicated to the entertainment industry. Sometimes it's headlines. Unfortunately, we have celebrity deaths at times. Yeah, and then trivia games. We sometimes have interviews, but it's all entertainment. And then those two things, the spooky aliens and the entertainment, put together create Earthling Entertainment.
That's us.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
So yeah, if you listen to us, the best way, and you want to support, the best way to support us is to download the episodes. So if it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, even if it's Audible, just feel free to hit the download the episode.
And of course, listen along.
And listen along. So Ryan, did you watch anything good this weekend?
Well, on Sunday, it kind of went past me. I didn't even see any ads for it, but streaming live on Netflix was the roast of Tom Brady.
So football guy.
Football guy. They call him the GOAT.
The foosball.
But he's won like 7 or 8 rings. It's crazy.
So he's very good. He's very good. I'm kidding. I do know who this gentleman is, obviously.
And I will say, just long story short, my take of it, they had Kevin Hart hosting.
How was he?
Not great, in my opinion.
As a host, really?
I'm just being honest. In my opinion,
he was not a good roast master.
He seemed to have nothing prepared. Like he really, it felt like a paycheck to me. Like he would just kind of got up there, like just every now and then he'd just be like, "Fuck you, Tom." Like that was like literally all he would ramble. And like all he would do is when he would approach the podium after someone was done doing their set, he would literally just go up there and laugh, repeating what they said, being like, "That was so funny. Oh my God."
So like, he didn't do the best hosting job.
I don't think so.
Was there any standout comedians that did do really well?
Yes, there was a girl called Nikki. I don't know her name. It's my first time seeing her.
Nikki Glacier, maybe?
I think she killed it. She had an amazing set. Another great set. Ron Burgundy made an appearance. Will Ferrell
as Ron Burgundy?
Yes.
All right, so that's cool.
It was, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't find it super funny. He literally just made gay jokes the entire time about how hot Tom Brady was.
Well, that's the character of Ron Burgundy.
Right, he was like, "Stay it together, Ron. You're a straight man. Like you are feeling me with feelings." Like it was just, that was basically his entire shtick was just.
All right, so it could have reached a little farther.
That's what I'm saying. So to me, that one wasn't the greatest.
Not hearing a lot of good, man.
Tony Hinchcliffe killed it. I love him. I don't know if you know him. He does the Kill Tony podcast where he brings people who maybe it's their first time doing comedy to do like a minute of comedy, and then he kind of roasts them afterwards or praises them if they're good. And so he kind of did his shtick there, which was kind of cool.
Okay, so that's fun.
And
so overall, what would you give it? Like, let's say out of 10.
Out of 10, I will give, if you are a football fan, you're probably going to call that your favorite roast. It'll be a 10 because all the football players got a chance, and even the coaches got a chance to come up and roast.
Okay, that's cool.
So a lot of people that I really didn't know, a couple of them were good, a couple of them were bad. Gronk was surprisingly put together because the joke is that Gronk, he's a football player with Tom Brady.
Gronkowski. I know who he is.
The joke is that he's an idiot, and he does seem a little.
The joke is he's like a drunken frat boy who never grew up. Right?
He really is. Yes. After doing a shot on the stage, he slammed and broke the glass on the stage, and everybody kind of just looked at him like, "Bro, you could have hurt somebody. We're on a stage."
He's definitely keeping with character then.
Oh yeah. But I would say, as just a roaster fan, I'm gonna give it probably a 6.
Cool. Don't throw glass, man. It bounces back and cuts your eye, and then you have to get 9 stitches in your eye. Remember that?
That was right. But where he threw it, it was on a stage. There's people eye level with that stage in those seats.
Yeah, that's probably not good. He wasn't thinking ahead. He was just staying with his character. So you said you give it a 6?
I give it a 6 as a roaster fan. I guarantee if you're a football fan, you're probably going to think that was your favorite roast ever because they brought some big names up.
Right. Well, I'm always a fan of the Comedy Central roasts. I don't know if they still exist because this was a Netflix live thing.
Right, but I mean, it's still with all the same people. Jeff Ross was basically the one to put it together. You know, he was praising Kevin Hart up and down. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Kevin Hart was terrible, but he just didn't impress me.
Well, Jeff Ross is the roast master I'm used to.
Yes.
Because he did all the Comedy Central ones. He's great. And then, you know, this is all from back in the day they used to do it.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
And I like it.
Everything's a remake.
It really is. But like I said, it's definitely worth the watch. If you're a roaster fan, don't expect the greatest, but if you're a football fan, you're going to love it.
Excellent. Well, you know, what else we did this weekend is it was my wife's birthday on Friday. So we
Happy
went
birthday, Lizzie.
So we went to Camp Dearborn, which is you know, just a campground. It's a local campground. It's a lot of fun. It's off season, so a bunch of the things they normally have, like paddle boats and mini golf and stuff like that, aren't running.
And people.
And
which
people.
was nice.
There was not a lot of people. But we stayed there for the weekend in the new luxury cabins, which pretty much just mean there's a bathroom.
Ooh la la.
Yeah. And Ryan and his new boo came, and we hung out. It was great.
That's
Yeah.
right. Dude,
had-
it was a good time. We played some Frisbee. We made some Star Wars jokes because it was May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you. Yeah, that Saturday was May the 4th. And it was really funny because the whole time in this cabin, it's a fun place, excuse me, but when you go into the bathroom, the ceiling had a bunch of fake blood.
Yep.
All in the ceiling. You could tell that like it was a group of people who made an independent film or like a short and just used it as like, this is a cabin in the middle of, you know, like a horror movie, because I just thought it was funny because they didn't wash it really well. So there's just this pink fake blood on the ceiling.
And it was obviously fake blood because it was still red.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look like it was dark brown. It didn't look like blood looks like when it dries.
It was off-putting, though. The splatter, they did a good job.
And I was thinking that I want to do a horror movie now. We should just go to Camp Dearborn and just shoot one. Just do a short. It's been
Why
a while
not?
since I did a short.
Why not? I've got ideas.
All right, man. We're going to do it. We're going to put Earthling Entertainment Presents, and then we'll have the title.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's good.
Trademark Earthling Entertainment.
Trademark Earthling Entertainment. So yeah, anyways, it was a good weekend, and because of that weekend, it was inspired to do a Cabin in the Woods episode. We would talk about the movie Cabin in the Woods. Our spooky stuff would be dedicated to cabins in the woods, and it didn't work out.
Eh.
It's kind of niche to find an entire episode about Cabin in the Woods stories. So what we're going to do is we're going to save that for later, because I have some, and I'm going to keep looking, and eventually when we have a whole episode, we're going to do the Cabin in the Woods
We're
episodes.
going to have more cabin than you can possibly fathom.
And more woods than you would ever want.
Ever.
Which is why we are covering spiritualism. So, strap in. Spooky stuff.
At 6:30 p.m. on July 25th, 1897, Ethel Estes Porter died of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis in the home of her mother and stepfather. Her death was a crushing blow to her family, especially her husband, William Sidney Porter, the man who would later become famous under the pen name O. Henry. At the time of Ethel's death, there were those who may have comforted the grieving family by telling them of their belief that Ethel was not gone at all, and, better still, could even still communicate. These people were known as spiritualists. Modern spiritualism began in the 1840s in a small town in New York and quickly grew to become one of the greatest and most divisive religious movements of the 19th century. Almost all historians point to movement beginning in 1848 in Hydesville, New York, where Sisters Maggie and Kate Fox began communicating with a spirit in their home through rappings and knockings. The girls became a phenomenon. Before long, they were communicating with spirits around the nation in front of hundreds of rapt audience members. Soon, spiritual mediums could be found in almost every town. America's new religion had taken root and showed no signs of stopping.
You know, it'd just be really cool to live around that time, because you could just like call in just your local seance guy. And you know what's kind of a fun little thing is Dan Aykroyd, you know, the actor, the Ghostbusters guy.
I do.
Well, one, I'm pretty sure he's autistic. Isn't that weird little.
Yes,
bit
he
of a
is,
fissure.
yeah.
But also his grandfather was into this. Was either a spiritualist or was into spiritualism. Like did this for a living.
I was always interested in seances. I remember when I was a young Boy Scout, there was this one.
When I was a young Boy Scout.
Very nice.
Yep. No, I just want a musical now with you.
Yes, when I was a young Boy Scout. But anyways, so
Thank you
So-
for humoring me.
yes, and this guy did a seance. It was one of the camp counselors. Like we always did like all these random things, and he did like a seance thing, and it was arguably probably inappropriate for young children. But
I was
like
just thinking, like, did the Boy Scouts of America know about the seance running Boy Scout leader?
this was definitely just a thing at a camp that the guy was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this," and I remember thinking it was fun. He kind of did like a haunted trail and stuff like that, where he like put shit up and whatnot. Like, you know, he did his best.
To be fair, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it kind of always got me into ghost tours and stuff like that. That's why, you know, when I went to St. Augustine, I took like the ghost trolley and went to like all the ghost tours and Ripley's Museum and shit. That shit was cool.
Yeah, I always liked that too. When I lived I lived right off of Hollywood, and they have the unfortunately the Dead Celebrities tour, and that was fun. All the haunted places around Hollywood.
I think that there's something to that though, because there's an extra energy to being like super famous and super like, you know, you're greedy for that attention and then you die. Like I could imagine it
Your
would be hard.
unfinished business is
Right.
you never got an Oscar. Oh, that'd be rough. Because how does a ghost get an Oscar?
You can't.
Well, it's way to make it sad.
Not in our realm, like not in our universe here. Maybe like in a different dimension.
All right. I'll see what you're saying.
Dragon Ball Z rules.
We got very good. Yep.
Religious rebellion. Religion in the United States during the 1840s was primed for spiritualism. The ideas of Emanuel Swedenborg, an 18th century philosopher, had already begun to change people's concept of heaven from a faraway, sterile place to a more perfect version of Earth, where the spirits of loved ones lived on. Many gravitated towards spiritualism because, like traditional religions, it is believed that the immortality of the soul. Unlike traditional religions, it did not call for blind faith.
See, that's what gets you, the blind faith.
Yeah.
Just the, no, it's real. Don't worry about it. We can't prove it, but it's real.
Right. And with this, they're like, no, we can straight up talk to them. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
no, we could prove it right now. You want to know what your Uncle Carl says? Here we go.
Uncle Carl was kind of inappropriate, actually.
Okay, that explains why he just keep hearing dick fart.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it is Uncle Carl.
It never ends.
Ah.
Skeptics could see concrete proof of an afterlife by attending a seance. Spiritualism also rebelled against traditional religious authority and instead emphasized radical individualism.
I like that.
This
Radical individualism. Actually, I don't like that. Too many people are like that.
I was going to say, sometimes it's good to have an open mind.
All right.
This individualistic outlook meant that spiritualism was a sole religion of its time that saw women as equals. So now it just won me over a little bit more.
Well, the suffrages,
Yes,
suffrage movement, right?
that's right.
Yes. Here we go.
For a time, spiritualism was the only way women were allowed to speak in public.
That sounds fucked up.
Female mediums used this as a way to champion the ideas of women's suffrage. Way to go, Joe.
Yes, I knew the word.
Equal rights and the abolition of slavery, claiming that these weren't their ideas, but rather messages from the spirit realm.
That's kind of awesome. Be like,
like
all right,
that.
we should be able to vote as women. Ghost told me. Ghost told me also, your friend Carl. Yeah, he's not your friend. He's a slave. Let him go.
That's right.
Just, hey, don't get mad at me. It was the ghost. Oh, wait, no, this is the early 1900s. It wouldn't be slavery. All right, don't be a dick to Carl because he's black.
On this week's episode, so I found out I was a spiritualist. This did not, however, stop the criticism and condemnation of female spiritualists. One such example was Victoria Woodhull, a vocal spiritualist and the first woman to run for president. She was dubbed Mrs. Satan for for her belief in spiritualism.
She'd probably win today.
Probably would. Suffrage.
President Satan.
Yes. Oh, and the ideas of free love, all of which were seen as a threat to traditional morals.
It's always about
It's always this public of suffering. this republic of suffering. With the onslaught of the Civil War and the growing lists of men who would never return home, more and more people turned to the spiritualist mediums, hoping for some proof that their loved one's immortal soul was at peace. The number of spiritualists in the United States blossomed. By the end of the war, a reported 11 million people subscribed to spiritualism and 35,000 were practicing mediums. Before the war, the idea of a good death meant that all aspects of dying were undertaken in the home, surrounded by family. The Civil War robbed hundreds of thousands of families the chance to be with their loved one's side at the time of their death. There was no chance to say a proper goodbye. Grieving mothers, fathers, sisters, and wives participated in seances and spirit communication, hoping to receive one last message from their dearly departed.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does, because anytime there's a huge tragedy, a huge loss like that, different customs, different things come up, and people need to find comfort in whatever way they can. And if you think that, oh my God, my loved one is just, they died and they were alone, and it's like you just want to tell them, like, I wish I could tell them this one last thing, but call up Jim down the street. Jim will do a little seance, and you could tell your loved one whatever you need to, and then everything will be good and you could feel better. You're paying to feel better.
Permission to make a South Park reference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm reminded of the South Park episode where they named John Edward from Crossing Over the biggest douche of the universe.
Yes. Do you remember John Edward, the actual show?
I remember watching it, and I remember being a kid, and I was still religious at the time. I've since lost my faith, but I remember at the time
that story for another day.
I remember believing it, and I remember and I'm older now, and I'm like, oh my God, those were adults. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was a kid when that show came out, and I was falling for it, but like, the moment I was like in high school or graduating high, I was like, oh wait a minute, that dude's totally lying. Like,
oh man, spiritualism.
Not saying that there aren't those that possibly could, but yeah, that guy I believe was a turd.
Yeah, we're saying John Edward can't speak to the dead. Not that there's no one out there who can.
The biggest douche of the universe. Scientific spiritualism. In the mid-19th century, Americans' religious beliefs were shaken by scientific discoveries. Newly unearthed fossils and analysis of the geological record indicated that the Earth was far older than the Bible claimed it to be.
And that made all those religious people poop a little.
Just a tad. People clamored for a religion that could maintain their faith while also aligning with science. Spiritualism fit this need perfectly. It was touted as the scientific religion, asking participants to observe spiritualistic demonstrations produced under test conditions in the seance room.
Oh, don't go over there. That's the seance room. You're so into something, you have a dedicated room to it. That's awesome. I have a lot of like Ninja Turtle collections. I don't have a Ninja Turtle room. Can you imagine your girlfriend, your wife being like, yeah, that whole bedroom over there, that could be your seance room. Just go hang out. You got to get her into the hobby. That's what you do. It's like Warhammer. If she's there with you and she wants to campaign too, if you guys are looking up ghosts together, then you can get a room. Then you can get a whole room, a spiritualism room.
Like my whole apartment is a Star Wars room.
I just like the idea of the weirdly named room, the room that's dedicated to the one soul thing. Because like I said, there's this movie called Running with Scissors, and I swear to God, there's this one throwaway line where the old man looks, because he's asked a question, what's that room? And he's just like, that is an adjacent room where I go to masturbate. And he just stares at him. and it's like, oh my God, what a weird line. And then like later in the movie, someone's in there and he gets all mad and he's just screaming, get out of the masturbatorium. Like he has a name for it. Anyways, so weirdly named rooms. I'm all down for the seance room. Continue, Ryan. Just that little tangent.
From now on, any room I do that activity is now called the masturbatorium.
Exactly.
Spiritualism was also believed to have healing powers. There were those in the movement known as spiritualist doctors who subscribed to the ideas of Anton Mesmer. Mesmer, an 18th century physician, believed that the body was governed by a magnetic fluid, and when an imbalance occurred, it could cause all manner of ailments. Practitioners simply had to wave their hands over the bodies for their patients, mesmerizing them. And the physician's own animal magnetism would realign the patient's magnetic fluid and restore health.
I don't have a joke. I just think that's kind of fun. I mean, clearly untrue, but that's kind of awesome.
Clearly. Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's true. I could see that. Spiritualism also drew parallels between it and technological advancements. The Fox sisters' raps and knocks were similar to the Morse alphabet, which had been invented just a few years before, leading to the promoters of spiritualism to claim that mediums could establish a spiritual telegraph between the living and the dead. Later, Williams Mumler would claim that he could capture the ghostly images of dead loved ones in his spirit photography studios in Boston and New York.
Yeah. I always like that double exposure kind of like, oh, I found a ghost. Or like the people who said we take a picture, we can photograph your aura.
Like an orb.
There was like an episode of like Ancient Aliens, I think, where they had this thing where it would take a photograph of your aura and they were different colors and wavelengths. And of course, because that show is all for that, they're like, this is amazing. I don't know the science behind it, but it was cool. It was cool.
It is interesting. They say the heart, gives off electromagnetic field, right? So literally there's like kind of an aura around you of the electricity that your heart produces. So literally when you get a bad vibes from someone, it's like their heart, it's actually coming from their heart. They have a bad heart. They have bad vibes.
See, that's exactly what they're talking about in this spiritualist thing. They're like, where science and our beliefs align.
That's right.
Science, damn it!
Science! In March 1848, two young sisters in Hydesville, New York, came up with what they may have considered a fun prank. Teenager Maggie Fox and her younger sister Kate claimed that there was a spirit communicating with them by making otherworldly raps onto the walls and furniture of their house. When their mother asked how many children she'd had, the spirit appeared to rap out the correct number. One of their neighbors reportedly witnessed these sounds, and word spread that there was something strange going on at the Fox house.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Because busting makes me feel good. I really like that song.
Me too. Maggie and Kate made these noises by cracking their knuckles, toes, and other joints, a fact Maggie confessed to a New York World 40 years later in 1888. By that point, the childhood prank had spun out of control, and the now adult sisters had become famous mediums. The Fox sisters and their public seances helped spark a spiritualism craze in the United States and Europe, built on the belief that it was possible for living humans to communicate with the dead. The business of spiritualism. Soon after Maggie and Kate's supernatural discoveries, the girls went to live with their older sister Leah in Rochester. When the supernatural occurrences continued, Leah decided to turn this into a little bit of business, says Nancy Rubin Stewart, author of The Reluctant Spiritualist, The Life of Maggie Fox. In November 1849, at Rochester's Corinthian Hall, Corinthian Hall, Maggie and Kate demonstrated their powers to a paying crowd of nearly 400 people. Newspapers began to report on the girls, and the sisters soon held public demonstrations in New York City. Plenty of people denounced the girls as fakes, and some correctly guessed that the sisters were just cracking their joints. But many others believed that they were witnessing a true spiritual phenomenon. Soon, other people began to open their own shows in which they claimed to be mediums who could communicate with the dead.
Yeah, so these two sisters literally started it all. Like the whole spiritualism thing, the entire movement, they started. We could track it to them.
Just from a
and
crack of the knuckles.
Well, they could crack their toes without moving. So they could sit at a table and they could like pop one of their toes. And it was really loud. So they could like do it, that way. Then maybe they were double jointed or something.
Right.
But think about that. Like all of these beliefs come from this. And one of the original sisters is like, nah, dude, we faked that shit.
It makes you think.
It makes you think of like of anything, man, any kind of story that gets out of hand and like where it could come from.
And maybe it just took them to get famous enough though for like a real medium to like really put themselves out there like, well, if they can do it.
Well, you never know. I'm not saying that every story with spiritualism doesn't exist just because this
Right.
girl faked it. I'm saying that it all got popularized because of these people who turned out to be fake. It'd be like if everyone liked a genre of music because Milli Vanilli did it. But then you find out Milli Vanilli was lip syncing. And you're like,
I
oh,
love
fuck.
the reference. One of the key aspects that differentiated the spiritualism craze from religious and spiritual beliefs that came before it was its connection to the growing media and entertainment industries in the United States and Europe. People in the business of spiritualism gave paid theatrical performances featuring elaborate lighting, music, and table tipping seances. The Fox sisters became celebrities, and so did other self proclaimed mediums. In the 1850s, Ira and William Davenport became famous for what was essentially a magic show whose tricks they attributed to spiritual intervention. Many stage magicians differentiated themselves from spiritualists like the Davenport brothers by exposing what spiritualists did as a hoax, something for which illusionist Harry Houdini later became famous.
Yeah, he hated that shit.
Yeah, despite these exposures, he would actually be a cool story. We should do a story on Houdini. He was an interesting one.
I mean, we could. We did a whole story on the history of farts, and that really didn't have to do with anything spooky. So I guess, yeah.
That was a great one. I almost forgot about the thoughts.
The history of farts. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
the history of thoughts.
Check out that episode, guys.
That was a great one. So despite these exposures, spiritualism remained extremely popular throughout the 19th century and still today. I still see psychic centers and stuff today. The lure, and on TikTok, I get tons of tarot card readings and shit. The lure of spiritualism. Not everyone who attended spiritualism shows believed what they were seeing. Some went as skeptics who wanted to see it for themselves if there was anything convincing about what the Fox sisters or other mediums did. Some attendees may have gone simply for the entertainment value. Yet,
I would go for the entertainment value.
yeah,
I mean, I want to see something happen, right? So I would go with an open mind. I would want to believe it. But I'm also not an idiot and I know reality. But I don't think I'm the kind of person who's going to just deny it to deny it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I really can and do keep an open mind because I want to see it. I want to see a UFO. I want to see Bigfoot. I want to be there. I want to have a conversation. I want to look. I want to know. I want to feel, Ryan. I want to feel.
I know, Joe.
But until I do, I am a little bit skeptical. But I think that's important because that's how you differentiate between the stories and reality. You can't just be believing everything you hear.
I agree with that. Yet for many people, demonstrations of spiritualism were not only believable, but deeply comforting.
Ooh, it's
And-
like a warm blanket.
Well, and let's think about it. In the 1850s, I really don't think that therapy was a thing. So, like going to a show, you have a nickel or however much it was, you go to the show. What else are you doing? You know?
There you go.
The during and after the Civil War, many Americans found solace in the idea that they could communicate with the people they'd lost. One of these people was Mary Todd Lincoln herself.
What? That's Abraham Lincoln's wife. That's the first lady, you son of a bitch.
I actually heard about this.
Yeah, she was kind of a kooky lady.
7 years ago. My
Hey,
wife,
look, it's a leprechaun. Sorry.
Yo, go, Abraham, go, Abraham Lincoln, go.
I'm not. I'm not sure what that devolved into, but yes,
It
go
was,
go Abraham Lincoln go.
That's
Like,
actually really
what
good.
is- what is that?
Go, Abraham Lincoln, go. I'm writing that down.
Okay, hold on though. But all right, never mind. Go ahead.
Dude, that's a hit.
It's a hit.
During Abraham Lincoln's presidency, the First Lady held seances in the White House to try to communicate with her dead children.
Well, you can't hold them in the greenhouse.
I guess not. America's grieving First Lady had become heavily involved in spiritualism after the deaths of her son and her husband. She regularly attended seances, hoping to receive a message from them. In 1872, Mrs. Lincoln visited Mumler's studio in Boston. In the resulting photograph, the ghostly specter of Abraham Lincoln appears behind his wife, resting his hands on her shoulders. It was the last photograph ever taken of Mrs. Lincoln.
Okay, that's kind of fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The spiritualism craze also found many followers in Europe after the death of Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert. In 1861, the Queen held many seances in Buckingham Palace in order to talk to him. The Fox Confession. Maggie's confession to the New York World in 1888 that her and her sister's communication with the dead had been a hoax, as well as her public demonstration of how she cracked joints to make the rapping noises.
Like,
Was-
no, guys, seriously, this is how I do it. Like, oh.
And this was apparently big news to people who were very interested in spiritualism.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be?
At the public demonstration.
Milli Vanilli? Oh my God, they lip sync?
Ba, 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 baby. I just cracked my knuckles. At the public demonstration, attended by Kate and held shortly after the publication of Maggie's confession, the New York Herald reported that Maggie was greeted with cheers and hisses. When I began this deception, I was too young to know right from wrong. Maggie told the crowd, according to the Herald, that I have been mainly instrumental in perpetuating the fraud of spiritualism upon a too confiding public. Many of you already know. It is the greatest sorrow of my life. Yet, for believers, the news was not necessarily a blow to spiritualism's credibility.
Because people who believe in shit will believe in it no matter what.
And I fall into that too. I believe in UFOs and aliens so much that I find with every story I have to take myself back a bit because I know I want it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say earlier.
Yeah. There are a lot of situations in which spiritualist mediums were caught faking, committing fraud, or spiritualist mediums made declarations similar to Maggie's confession, says Simone Natalie, a professor at the University of Turin in Italy, and author of Supernatural Entertainments. No affiliation. Victorian Spiritualism and the Rise of Modern Media Culture. But these never really stopped people from believing it. It isn't clear what motivated Maggie to confess that it had all been a hoax in 1888, nor is it clear why exactly she recanted that confession the next year.
Oh.
Maybe to get back in the spotlight one more time.
I don't know. She's like, oh, that was a bad idea. It's like, you can't let the genie out of the bottle, man. You already did.
Regardless of Maggie and Kate's true feelings and their careers as mediums, the spiritualist craze they had unwittingly helped start continue to be as popular well into the 20th century. And I wonder, because that's such a fraud, they made money. Like,
yeah,
that's
for,
a big
for
deal.
like 40 years.
That's a big deal. Like, that's a crime.
Well, not then. I mean, back then they had like selling snake oil, man. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
this tonic will let your hair grow, your dick will grow longer, your bones will be stronger.
Longer, you say?
You'll be more handsome. If you don't have an ear, you'll grow it back. Looking at you.
I'll take 5. Believers, skeptics, and hucksters.
Hucksters. I like that.
Huckster?
I like huckster.
World War I ushered in a new wave of interest in spirit communication and spiritualism. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of the world-famous detective Sherlock Holmes, was an avowed spiritualist. He traveled around the world lecturing on the comfort grieving family members could find in a séance parlor. In his talks, Doyle told of the next world, as it had been described to him by spirits during séances. He assured his audiences that the departed all agree that passing is usually both easy and painless, and followed by an enormous reaction of peace and ease. To the thousands who had lost loved ones in France and Belgium, this was welcome news.
Well, okay, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, obviously the writer of Sherlock Holmes. So he wrote one of the smartest detectives in the world. So you have to assume he's not an idiot himself.
I was going to say he's pretty smart.
Yeah, and he believes full-heartedly into it. You know what I mean? Like, that adds a bit to the credibility of
Or-
spiritualism.
Or is he just smart and he's like, oh, I can fool people with it.
Well, he's not getting any money out of it. He goes to these things. He's part of. He's not getting a kickback from.
I guess that's true. It just says that he was just giving comfort. He wasn't accepting money.
Yeah, no, he was just telling people. He's like, hey guys, you're sad about this unfortunate death in the family. Talk to a spiritualist, your local spiritualist parlor, because they're so popular. They got parlors around.
And at the end of the day, with all the things that people are selling, that's not the worst thing, I guess.
No, No. God bless snake oil.
Yep. Uh, although many people who generally believed they could communicate with spirits, there were also many frauds looking to make money off of the grief-stricken. So, like I said, there are some.
The hucksters out there.
The hucksters. Spiritualism skeptics attempted to expose fake mediums. The world-famous magician, Harry Houdini, made it his life's work to expose the perpetuators of this most monstrous fiction. Even though he always entered a seance with an open mind, Houdini declared, after 25 years of ardent research and endeavor, I declare that nothing has been revealed to convince me that intercommunication has been established between the spirits of the departed and those still in the flesh. This information was compiled by Katie Hackleson.
Yes. So I don't know, man. Spiritualism in general is fun, and
It is fun.
It's like having the Ouija board out there. You know what I mean?
I love Ouija boards. I love tarot cards. I like that kind of stuff. Like, and sometimes, yeah, like I feel like even I can get a little tricked. So, like, but I mean, it's
Well,
designed.
do you believe? Real question: do you believe there's people out there that can talk to the dead?
I have an open mind. I don't know if I can say like I believe, but I'm willing to see. I'm willing to like kind of see some proof. I'm willing to kind of. I'll hear it out. I'm not saying it over here saying there's no way.
Well, we'll broaden it a bit. How about, do you believe there's people out there with like psychic abilities?
Yes.
Yes. I do too, but it very much is like Bigfoot and aliens because I do not have proof.
Right. And
It just, there's so many stories of like these things, right? And I don't know.
and we're always adapting. We're always evolving, right? Like,
So you're going the X-Men route where it's like the next stage of human evolution.
I mean, sort of, right? In a way, like I feel like there are certain kind of things that we're already evolving, you know what I mean, as we go along. Like we have like I feel like I have an extra kind of sense with certain shit. Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, there's a lot of things like in history. You have the Oracle of Delphi, who supposedly would talk about events to come and make decisions. People would come and ask them questions, and she sat in a chair that was kind of like a tripod over a crack in a mountain, and they proved that there's toxic gases coming from that crack when we actually like found it, and it would make you trip balls. So she was just tripping balls, just saying nonsense, and everyone's writing it down. But was it nonsense? Because a lot of people believe that if you do the right kind of cocktail of mushrooms and psychosomatic, maybe some
Yeah.
acid, that you can communicate with either aliens or ghosts.
Like
or anything.
interdimensional creatures, beings.
I mean, there's a whole branch of people who study that stuff by, testing it with drugs.
yes. Yeah, DMT being like the main one, I believe.
It's just crazy. So to say that there is never been a spiritualist who actually talked to ghosts, I will not say that.
And I will say that I find it fun. Like I would
The whole
totally
concept,
yeah,
right?
like I would totally sit with a psychic and let them, do their best and like hear what they have to say. Like that would be cool.
I have sat with a few psychics, and I don't recall enough of like the specifics of the reading to really say if there was some major impact, because I think a lot of the art is talking about a little bit of generalities of just like, you're gonna get a new job. If you're talking to someone in their early
Yeah.
20s, they're probably gonna get a new job, or if they're in a relationship, it was probably gonna end, or if they, because things happen quickly when you're that young. You base thing in some guy walks in their 50s, and you mention that the mother may have just recently passed or is sick, it's just, you figure things out.
And it's fine, like I said, if it's for fun, but then there are people who get addicted. Like you hear about people who lose thousands and thousands of dollars.
Like, I gotta go talk to my psychic.
They literally go to their psychic once a week.
That's like any addiction, though.
Yeah. So, but
But I want to
it could be
see.
real.
I want to see a real psychic. I've talked to some readings, and I want someone to tell me some stuff, and I want to believe it. I want to jump in, prove it to me.
And I'm currently kind of addicted to tarot TikTok. I'll be honest.
Tarot TikTok. I just
yeah.
can't imagine tarot cards are accurate through TikTok.
What's funny is, like I said, they're so general,
That
right? They're
cannot
so
be
general that
correct.
they'll never miss.
That's like the weird horoscopes you used to get.
It's just these people who are so good at what they do. You know what I mean? Like I said, I find it entertaining. And they're so good at what they do that, like, no matter who sees the video, you're gonna find a way to relate.
I see the color blue. My father, who just died, used to watch Bluey with my son. That's exactly it. That is exactly what I was thinking.
Spot on.
Spot on, woman. Anyways. It's like, she just gave him the answer. Shh.
Like, yes, and thank you very much for explaining them in full detail for me. It was totally them.
Haha. But yeah, I do believe spiritualism in some form probably was real for someone, at least one guy out there, one guy knew what he was doing. He's walking around with hucksters all around. He's like, damn, I actually did talk to ghosts, man.
It's probably happened.
I can't even, my prices, I got to keep charging less and less or more. The economy's all whack. I don't know. No one believes me. It's this whole thing.
Yeah, and you got to be afraid of being canceled now. It's like, this guy, he's a big fat phony. It's like, no, dude, I really can hear him. It's like,
they won't shut up about golf. It's their favorite thing. It comes about in
it's the worst haunting ever. Just a bunch of rich dudes talking about golf all day.
For some reason, the only people who have unfinished business are people who really into golf.
Just greedy bastards.
Aha. Well, I think that was, I would say, a successful spooky stuff. What would you say?
It's quite spooky. We dove really far into beyond ghosts. We were talking about mankind trying to communicate with them.
The bigger answers. That's what we're here to find out in Earthling Entertainment.
Earthling Entertainment Special Report! So, Night Court, the TV show, it's been renewed for Season 3, so if you're a fan of the zany antics of that Night Court, guess what? You're in luck. Also, they live-action Masters of the Universe. That's He-Man, folks. A new live-action movie coming out in 2026 from Amazon! Huzzah! First Fallout, now this, I'm on board, Amazon. I see what you're doing. No need to hide in space. This has been an Earthling Entertainment Special Report.
Ryan's disclosure discussion. It's about aliens and stuff.
Pilot who reported UFO sends chilling final message before disappearing. A pilot that disappeared almost 50 years ago left a creepy final transmission before vanishing off the face of the earth. The incident occurred on the 21st of October in 1978 as 20-year-old pilot Frederick Valentik was flying a Cessna 182L light aircraft from Moorabbin Airport in southern Melbourne.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah,
sorry.
It might just be it might be a misspelling. So like Melbourne Airport in Melbourne, Australia.
No, I think you were right.
Moorabbin.
Sorry. Yeah, I was wrong. Continue.
In Australia to King Island when he disappeared an hour into his journey.
So yeah, this was a personal plane, like a small plane, right?
Yeah, it was just like a prop plane. Yeah, it's a Cessna.
So these are probably small airports as well, I would assume.
I just saw a Cessna flying the other day.
Oh, nice.
Valentik informed air traffic control that he was accompanied by a fellow aircraft roughly 1,000 feet above him, and his engine was running roughly. His chilling final transmission is sure to send shivers down your spine, though. The young pilot was making his way over the Bass Strait Triangle, an area of sea between Victoria and Tasmania, infamous for ships and planes vanishing in. More or less an Australian Bermuda Triangle.
Hold on. So we have the Michigan Triangle in the Great Lakes. We have the Dragon Triangle near Japan. Now we have this triangle. It seems like this is a very common thread.
It must come with these USOs. You know what I mean? Like that's probably where they're entering and exiting maybe our dimension or just straight up portaling out.
I like dimensional portals.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
People have theorized what may have happened over the years. Where was he going? And who was he? We know that he was heading for King Island, but why? Valentik.
Why?
I'm sorry, I skipped something. Valentik informed air traffic control that. No, wait, I did say that. So we know that he was heading for King Island, but why? Valentik racked up around 150 hours of flying time, but was rejected from the Royal Australian Air Force, RAAF, twice due to his lack of qualifications, despite being part of the RAAF Air Training Corps. He was also studying to become a commercial pilot, but failed all his commercial license exams several times.
So he wasn't necessarily a great pilot, but he
Right.
loved it.
Despite being desperate to have a career in the industry, the 20-year-old had a record of reckless flying too, being warned after flying into a controlled zone and into clouds on numerous occasions. It is still unknown why he undertook the journey to King Island that evening, as he told friends and air officials different stories. What happened exactly? He radioed Melbourne Flight Service to inform them that the unidentified aircraft was following him at 4,500 feet. But they responded by telling him that there was no recognized traffic at that height. Valentik said he saw a large aircraft with 4 bright light landing lights with a shiny metal surface and a green light. The craft passed 1,000 feet above him when he revealed that he was experiencing engine problems. Flight service.
I mean, you hear about that all the time when UFOs fly over cars and then like the lights go out and their engine stops. So it makes perfect sense that if they do that, whether it's a, some kind of weapon they deploy or if it's just by the mechanics of how it flies, it fucks with our electronics. It makes sense. If it's right above him, his engine, everything, it would start going wacky.
Right. The flight service asked him to identify the plane, and he replied, "It's not an aircraft." The final radio from his plane was described as a metallic scratching. The search.
Ooh, metallic scratching. That's creepy.
Authorities launched a sea and air search with shipping traffic, a RAAF plane, and 8 civilian aircraft searching an area more than 1,000 square miles. After 4 days, the search was halted as nothing was found. Though in 1983, an engine cowl flap washed ashore on Flinders Island. Upon closer inspection, the Bureau of Air Safety Investigation concluded that the part was identified as coming from a Cessna 182 aircraft. Between a certain range of serial numbers, meaning there is a possibility that it could have been Valentik's.
Okay, so it's not confirmed, right? Because it's a spectrum of numbers, but it falls in that zone.
And I'm sure there's a million of those aircraft, and I'm sure shit happens. So it could just be from a different crash. But yeah, it's pretty coincidental.
It is. Well, I mean, it would have it begs. There's got to be wreckage from his plane that fell in the ocean. There's got to be. Otherwise, what did the UFO just abduct the whole plane? Because that would be interesting.
I
Or
think,
like we said,
yeah,
portals to another dimensions.
and that could happen. And who knows if things might not go well. It might cut off half your plane. Like you might not go in it
The
right.
the portal closes halfway through. And
Right.
It's just like slicey dicey.
Yep, just that could happen.
Yeah, why not?
What are the potential causes of his disappearance? Faking his own death, many conspiracies have flown around since the incident. From the pilot staging his own disappearance, as police received reports of a light aircraft landing not far from Cape Otway, just 45 minutes from his start point. Around the time he disappeared, accidental crash, he could have been disoriented while flying upside down, as the lights he saw might have been his own lights reflected in the sea before tragically crashing.
I just feel like if he's upside down, you're gonna know it. Because even I've heard this before, where like the sky and the water looks exactly the same,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna notice you're upside down. The blood rushing to your head.
I would imagine that too, like especially being in a little prop plane,
I mean, I'm sure you're wearing a hat and stuff, but like there's not a necklace or something that's kind of falling towards,
Right.
to give you an indication you're upside down.
Right. And I mean, unless he just made a horrid mistake in trying to recover from it.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
However, the type of plane he was flying and the gravity feed fuel system, as flying upside down for long periods of time in the Cessna, would have caused the engine to die.
Yeah, there you go. Well, then again, if the engine died, that could be why it crashed.
Possible suicide? Doctors and colleagues close to him have ruled this out, despite the possibility. In 2013, it was suggested that he was deceived by a tilted horizon illusion. When he tried to correct this, it sent the plane into a spiral to his death. The G-force caused by this tight spiral would have caused engine problems as fuel flow would have dropped, according to retired United States Air Force pilot James Magaha and author Joe McNeil.
Also, if you would pass out. I mean, basically,
Right.
You would just going too quick. The air is thin. There's the altitude. It's how fast you're going. It's the fall, the change. Yeah, you'd pass out.
And I wonder if they know that trick back then where you like hold your breath and push it down so that it keeps like the oxygen in your brain. What like fighter pilots now know what to do to try to combat that.
I don't know what you're talking about, but that's awesome if they figured out some kind of
it's crazy.
yoga move where they breathe. And,
Mhm.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, you see the ones that can pull it off and the ones that can't. I've watched tons of videos of people doing the test and like the extra G's and stuff like that. I watched this one Russian dude who was just so good at it. Like he went through so many and he was able to then he was just like, just fine. They're like going again. He's like, okay. It's really trippy to watch.
Wow.
Aliens, our favorite.
Aliens.
That's right, the Big Whopper. Ufologists speculated that he was destroyed or abducted by a UFO. As reports on the day said, there was an off-green light moving erratically in the sky. UFO group Ground Saucer Watch claims that pictures...
Saucer Watch.
Yeah, UFO group Ground Saucer Watch.
Ground Saucer Watch.
Claims that pictures taken on the day show an object moving swiftly through the air near the Cape Otway Lighthouse. Jerome Clark, a UFO writer for Ground Saucer Watch, claimed that there was a bona fide unknown flying object of moderate dimensions, apparently surrounded by a cloud-like vapor exhaust residue. But photos were not clear enough to back these claims up. So
All right,
that's what I got on that one. I remember reading about that story before in a book that I believe was called UFOs, Pilots, and Generals Speak Out. That was a great book, and I read about this story. So when I came across this, I wanted to bring it on the show.
I like it. It's a great story. And you notice there's like Andy has a history of dangerous flying. The dude was 20. He was 20. So what was it? Like when he was 16, he was kind of being a dick. He went to what? Unauthorized airspace
Right.
and was flying through clouds. I mean, I don't know how crazy of a flyer he was for he was just being a kid playing around.
My girlfriend's a pilot, and when she listens to this, she's gonna be like, I'll bet she'll be like, oh, that's totally a problem. Like you can't fucking do that. Like I'll bet that is a huge problem that we have no idea because we are not pilots, Joe.
You know what? You're right, Ryan. I am not a pilot. But we have to, we got to talk to her though about if she's seen anything in the air.
I have asked her. She said that she hasn't seen anything.
That's not the story I want to hear. Come back when she either lies or has seen something.
Good.
Excellent. Yeah, okay.
I will. It's like she saw the Millennium Falcon.
Ooh.
Like straight up.
Like the actual Millennium Falcon? And it was just flying.
Made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Oh my God. In person?
Oh yeah, and I don't know, just now that I brought that up, a little bit of Star Wars, I've been listening to the audio book for the High Republic because I'm getting prepared for the show
The Acolyte. The Acolyte's coming out in December, by the way. So there you go.
I thought it was supposed to be in June.
It's coming out in December.
Oh, they pushed it.
It is. I'm just telling you.
Oh, cool. So that is new news.
Yeah. Well, no, I think we covered it.
No, when we originally covered it, it was when it was released for June.
Well, anyways, it's coming out in December. So you have December to watch more, to read more High Republic books.
And I'll admit, the first book, everybody, it's a long run because you're describing so many characters. So tighten up for that one. Joe informs me that the rest are much more entertaining.
It depends. I will say that they make some choices when trying to explain the overall universe that they are, because it's a Star Wars universe, but it's 200 years before any of the movies that you've seen. So trying to explain the state of the universe they're doing the Batman v Superman. They're trying to introduce too much in a lot of the books, but I'm going to recommend you the good ones. Okay.
We are all the Republic.
We are all the Republic. Yeah.
And I think it's cool that Yoda's like, we haven't heard Yoda yet, but he's been mentioned many times.
Yeah, so Yoda right now is flying in space with a bunch of younglings, training them.
Okay, because like I would always hear like the Jedi in the story be like, I'm the best in the Order. Well, maybe not as good as Master Yoda.
Yeah, Master Yoda.
Like they always say that like in their like inner thoughts in the book.
So you know what? That was a good transition because since you're talking about Star Wars and we're talking about entertainment, I think it's time for our entertainment section.
Ooh.
Remember that guy? Remember that gal? Well, now they're dead.
Bernard Hill passes away at 79.
Aw.
Actor Bernard Hill, best known for playing Captain Edward Smith in Titanic and King Theoden in Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy.
That's the big one.
That's the big one. Has died at 79. Every actor dreams about merely appearing in a film that wins Best Picture, let alone playing an important role in one of the most beloved, most popular movies ever. But Bernard Hill didn't just do that once. He was a big part of 2 such films in his 50-year on-screen career. In 1997, he played the captain of the ill-fated ocean liner.
Titanic.
In
Yeah,
Ja-
he was the captain. He went down with the
Yep.
ship. I remember that scene. He's hanging onto the wheel and the water's all covered the windows. And you could tell for a split second his character is just like, oh shit, I made a bad choice. And then the windows shut and all the water rushes in and it's a very moving scene.
Yeah, and I'm being honest right now. I never made that connection that they were the same person.
That he was the captain.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he looked different. He was chubbier back then.
Well, also, I mean, he didn't look like a medieval warrior man.
That's
He
true.
was dressed as a early 1900s captain, and it's a very different look. They both have beards, but it's a very different look.
It was a very, very different look. So yeah, I didn't even know that. In James Cameron's historic box office smash hit Titanic, Hill then followed up that feat by playing Theoden in 2002's The Two Towers. The next year, he then reprised his role as the King of Rohan in The Return of the King.
Yes. He was not the king who returned, but yet he was a king.
Indeed. And he did return, but it's not about him.
No, it's about a different king who returned. Don't worry about it.
Yes. Like Titanic before it, the final movie in Jackson's series took home 11 Oscars, including
11.
winning Best Picture.
It'd be nice to be involved in any film that won Best Picture. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty nice. That'd be pretty sweet.
Excellent.
Hill's family did not reveal the cause of death. He was set to appear at an event in Liverpool on Saturday before he canceled.
Hold on, though. I wish I don't wish anyone to be dead, but I wish the cause of death when they say the family didn't give it away. Well, he's 79. It was probably just old age, but I want it to be like a hang gliding accident.
No, he was killed by a troll,
Ooh.
like how he died in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
That's a good one.
But I want a more realistic thing. Like, it'd be funny if, like, his foot fell into a gopher hole while he was running from a new lawnmower designed and run by AI, and he was unable to escape with his broken leg and was viciously torn apart by a rogue lawnmower.
Bernard Hill really gets after it when it comes to lawn care. Like, holy shit.
I don't know if that's disrespectful. I just think it would be kind of funny. All right, continue.
To talk about him, perhaps, like, they didn't say how he died, so it's up to us to speculate. So
It's true. So really, that's their fault.
it's their fault.
All right.
Bernard Hill's family did say that his fiancee, Allison, and son, Gabriel, were with him when he died on Sunday, May 5th.
How old's his fiance?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, if it's a soap opera,
We're just asking
suspect
questions.
number one.
Little sus. Generations of fans who will remember Hill for his place in movie history. Bernard Hill, you will be missed.
He will be missed. No, great actor. And there were parts in Lord of the Rings, obviously, that with his character, especially in the Two Towers, like when they think they're all gonna die, and Aragorn looks out and he's like, "What do men do against such reckless hate?" And then Aragorn's
Yeah.
like, "Ride out with me." And he's like, "To meet them for glory, for Rohan."
Dude, he was such, death,
Oh,
death.
that was
That scene gives me goosebumps when he's yelling death. Like something about like there's something primal in me that comes out when there's like a king with a sword on the back of a horse yelling death.
Well, you know what? He did a great job. And he will be missed, Bernard Hill. I got nothing because I agree with you. And
Yeah.
it does stir something of just like, it's like when I watch The Highlander and I'm just like, yeah, there can only be one, motherfucker.
Dude, and he was so well rounded. He made me like tear up in the scene when he's mourning his son because after he gets out of the spell, he'd never realized that his son had died.
Yeah, well, he was pretty much like just in a drug trance the whole time he was under that
He was
spell.
like possessed also too. Like Saruman could talk through him. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, anyways, to wake up and just have your kid die. And then what was the line?
He was like, no father should ever have to bury his son.
I mean, that's just true.
Dude.
Yeah. So, hey, Bernard Hill, great career. You will be missed. And yeah.
Earthling Entertainment salute.
Earthling Entertainment salute. Earthling Entertainment. Headlines.
Riddick 4, aka Riddick Furia, starts filming this summer.
Yeah.
Get ready to return to the world of Vin Diesel's Riddick franchise. The 4th chapter of the series, Riddick Furia, will begin to film August 26th. It will mark the next tale in the franchise that contains the movies Pitch Black, Chronicles of Riddick, and Riddick.
Yeah, so this was the 4th one. I like how they don't count. There was this half-hour cartoon that
I remember that.
Yeah, it was called Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay, and it bridged the gap. No, Escape from Butcher Bay was a PlayStation 2 game.
Yeah.
So this was a different thing, but it was a cartoon. You could find it if you look at his IMDb, and it bridges the gap between Pitch Black and the Chronicles of Riddick.
I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember at all what it was about.
Oh, okay. So the first one was great because it was barely about him. He was like a side
knew that
character.
one.
Yeah.
That was more of like, he was like a side character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was more of a side character. It was pretty cool. Then the Chronicles of Riddick were like, what if he was not only the main character, but a descendant of this great lineage, and there's space monsters and other things and all this, and it tried to like Star Wars it.
Space prison.
Yeah, they made it crazy. And I loved it, but they spent too much money and it didn't do very well. So the 3rd one came out years later, and Vin Diesel basically put up the money to make most of it, and it got its money back. But it was kind of a repeat of Pitch Black because they were on a planet with different aliens saving a different group of Marines, only he's the clear lead. Katie Sackhoff was in that one.
Man, it's been a while since I watched those.
The 3rd one was really good. I liked it.
It's been a long time. I honestly don't remember what they were about.
Well, this one, his home planet, which he's been looking for throughout the series, is Furia. Which I think it's
Yes.
kind of funny because people are going to make comparisons to the new Furiosa movie. And it's not a ripoff, guys. They've been saying he's from a planet Furia since,
Yeah.
Chronicles of Riddick, which was 2004.
Furions, defiant to the end.
Ha ha ha.
The movie will see David Twohy, I'm pretty sure I got that, return as writer and director of the franchise. Diesel, of course, will play Richard B. Riddick. According to Deadline, in Riddick Furia, Riddick finally returns to his homeworld, a place he barely remembers, and one he fears might be left in ruins. But there, he finds other Furions fighting for their existence against a new monster. And some of these Furions are more like Riddick than he could have ever imagined.
They're all bald and kind of a dick.
That sounds interesting enough. We always love a new monster. Of course, we eagerly await the return of Riddick's signature goggles. Vin Diesel's Riddick Furia does not yet have a release date.
I can't lie. This is a guilty pleasure. Not even a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure. I like sci-fi movies, and I've always liked the Riddick series, and I've appreciated the fact that there's been so much time in between the movies. Now I'm ballparking here because I don't know for sure, but I believe Pitch Black came out in 1999 or 2000.
It was a long time ago.
I'm pretty sure Chronicles of Riddick was 2004, and then I know Riddick was 2013, and I'm pretty sure I got those close. So this is like, by the time it comes out, 12 years, 13 years after the last one, and I'm in for it, man. I like the Riddick story. I like it. It's fun. And
Pitch Black was my favorite, and I remember Chronicles of Riddick. I don't remember Riddick very much, but
you may not have seen it.
might not. I don't know.
It looked and felt a lot like Pitch Black, only, the good parts.
Well, either way, I'm totally here to watch the 4th one, and hey, if I miss the 3rd one, I'll watch that too.
Hey, 3rd one was great. He had a dog friend. And like I said, Katie Sackhoff is in it. Bo-Katan.
Yeah, Bo-Katan.
Yeah, she's in it.
Nice.
Yeah, very good. All right.
We're going to be seeing her at Comic-Con next weekend.
We are. I'm excited for Comic-Con.
Me too.
Yes, we're going to see a lot of people. And they keep adding people. I guess William Shatner is going to be there now.
Yep, I saw that he was going to be there.
Yeah. And there's just people that you wouldn't expect, like Law and Order people. And you're like, oh, okay, cool.
It's like, and I'm probably not going to wait in line for all of them, maybe 1, maybe 2, but I will say this, it's like just to be able to see them in the flesh is going to be a trip.
It is. It always is. But all right, guys. So if you were a fan of the Riddick character and what do we call it? The Pitch Black or the Chronicles of Riddick or the Riddick franchise? If you're a fan of this franchise, it's finally coming, guys. It's finally coming.
Headline number 2. Fallout 5 will be set in the USA.
That doesn't surprise me.
I was going to say, aren't all of them?
They all are. Yeah.
The location of any.
But here's the reason why: as the Fallout, they're doing a big mod for Fallout 4, and it's called Fallout London, and it's like
Oh.
a full on like a whole new game, and fans are making it, and it's got its own missions and its own thing. But it's using my understand is the skeleton of Fallout 4 to make it possible. So a lot of people over the last few years have just been like, why are all Fallout games in the United States? How's China? How's this? How's that? Especially since now we're talking about the Reds. So it's like, you
Yeah.
know, communists or what happened on their side. But hey, I don't need to say more.
And it's funny with those mods. I heard, because you and I were just talking, that Fallout 4 just got like a ton of new missions and stuff like that. It had a big patch.
Yeah.
A lot of these mods don't work anymore because of that.
Yeah, well, that is the problem with modding. Is it's a fun thing, but if your game that your save game is based on a mod, it could really screw you up.
Yeah.
I did a Fallout 4 mod once where it was all different variations on facial and different voices and different like skin tones
Yeah.
to basically diversify the settlers at all my bases. Well, when that mod went kaput or an update killed it, I don't know which, all those people became invisible, but they were still there. So they would walk around and there'd be like floating cups, or they would be like working out at a workbench or
That's
doing
amazing.
something, but you couldn't see any of them.
Did you video cap that?
No.
Oh, you should have.
Well, it was such an old save, I'd have to like really try to find it.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the news story.
The location of any Fallout game is always its defining feature. So, of course, there's a lot of conversation surrounding where Fallout 5 might take place. Some fans would like to see the Fallout franchise head abroad,
Like I said.
as all of its games and its TV series adaptation to date have been set in the United States. However, Bethesda's Todd Howard has confirmed Fallout probably won't leave the United States anytime soon. My view is part of the Fallout shtick is on America naivety.
Nativity? Nativity? It's naivety?
Like naive.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just trying to pronounce it.
Yeah, me too.
Naivete, I think. Naivete.
Works for me.
Yeah.
I'll just say naivety.
Yeah.
And part of that. And so for us right now, it's okay to acknowledge some of those other areas, but our plan is to predominantly keep it in the US. And that makes sense because it was like a lot of the jokes are old Americana kind of things, like perverted on that.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want to go to a different country and have to like spend 5 years researching just to make a reference to an old TV show that took place here.
Exactly. I also think in any sort of world, I don't feel the need to answer. It's okay to leave mystery or questions. What is happening here? What is happening here? He literally said that twice.
Yeah.
I think those are good things.
And the mystery he's talking about is like what's happening in the other part of the world. That's what he was saying. Like what's happening over here?
Right.
What's happening over there? It was just
Right.
weird. To
Right, I just
see the
worded
quote
it
written
strange.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read it right. And he said, Elder Scrolls, everybody wants to go to these other mysterious lands. The worst thing you could do to mysterious lands is remove the mysteriousness. Keep mysterious lands mysterious.
Keep it mysterious.
Fallout series set in Los Angeles Fallout games will remain in the United States. Some questions just don't need answers, and we can understand how the history and the present of the United States are deeply embedded into the Fallout games and series.
Yeah, like we were saying, you can't reference an old TV show. You can't do that as well as Fallout's they already built a very functional world. I mean, so I don't know. That's just my opinion, Ryan. What do you?
I agree with that. That I'm totally with it. Like I said, that's the whole tongue in cheek of Fallout. It's this weird kind of universe where we had this
retro futuristic,
right? Where it's still old school. Looks like it's from like the 30s or the 50s, but it's futuristic. They had like floating robots and shit. Like they had a bunch of
nuclear powered.
Right, but all of the cars looked like they were from like the 50s and 60s and it's
definitely like the 50s idea of sci-fi future. It's like it all looks like where the Jetsons would have been before they lived on poles in the sky.
Right. And like don't even get me started on why they have to be on poles in the sky.
Because the whole world is flooded.
That's right. Something like that.
Yeah, no, that's true. All right. We're getting Jetsons conspiracies. We'll talk about it later.
That's right. Stop this crazy thing.
I like it.
So, I like it too.
Headline, you want to do headline number 3 then?
Yeah, we're going to get into a little bit of music here on the podcast. So I
That's
couldn't,
okay. This is our entertainment section.
So I couldn't help. So I always like to check Spotify. I'm a metal guy. I like to see what's new in rock and metal and stuff like that. And I look, and I hadn't heard anything about this. And I'm like, Motley Crue has a new single, which kind of blew my mind because haven't they already had like 3 farewell tours?
Yeah,
I thought they were done.
I just can't give you up.
So this is a very opinionated piece. This comes from a metal website, it's a journalism website which has a lot of controversy even in the metal community because it's very opinionated. It's called metalsucks.net, and this was written by Hesher Keenan.
Metalsucks.net. You never would assume that would be an opinionated site.
Exactly. So trust me, this site's been under fire here and there, but honestly, sometimes I like it. I like to hear an opinionated piece. Take it for what it is. So here we go.
Strap in.
Not even John 5 could salvage Motley Crue's new track, Dogs of War. Well, this was about as predictable as it could be, wasn't it? Motley Crue released their first new single without Mick Mars, and it's not great. Coming in more like a John 5 solo track than a Crue single,
Ooh, shots fired.
this thing just sounds and feels lifeless, which I guess is apropos since the video features computer-generated zombie versions of the band.
I kind of like the imagery, but that's just me.
Me too. And let's talk about that imagery for a second. We're talking about The Crue, a band that hasn't been good in years, if not literal decades. Remember, this is a very opinionated piece.
Yeah, that guy does not like Motley Crue.
Shambling along on its successes now nearly 40 years in the rearview mirror, these guys deluded themselves in thinking they could remain relevant when they should have just counted their money from that Netflix adaptation of The Dirt and enjoyed retirement. I actually enjoyed that.
Ouch. What, The Dirt?
Yeah,
I'm just saying, this writer's harsh.
that's why I made sure to tell her, yeah, this is a very opinionated website.
I kind of hope one of the guys from Motley Crue just is listening to the show and there's just a single tear going down his cheek. Like, you son of a bitch, I just wanted to hear about aliens.
Just remember, bud, you heard it here at Earthling Entertainment. Instead, we now have this sort of overproduced, tired-sounding 4 minutes that proves once again that Mick Mars was the secret sauce this whole time. I just can't imagine what this would sound like in a live setting. The whole thing is just one big Pro Tools commercials if I've ever heard one.
Ow.
As expected, John 5 holds up his end of the bargain. His guitar tone sounds good, and that solo's fucking fire. But with Tommy Lee's pretty standard drumming on the track and Nicky Sixx likely pantomiming his part on stage, that just leaves us with Vince Neil. And all of the parts in this song, good old Vince's vocals sound like they're the most heavily produced part of the mix. And actually they do. I've listened to the song.
All right, so that's a fair criticism?
I will say that's a fair criticism.
All right.
Of everyone in the band, he's the most washed out of all of them, and no amount of digital fuckery is going to hide that.
Rough.
I really wanted to eat my words about modern Motley Crue. I really wanted them to prove me wrong, but this just ain't it, man. But with this being the kickoff for what will surely be a new album, we're just starting the ride, and it's going to be a rough one. I will say, I listened to the track. The first half had me. The last half was so boring. Like, it was like, it made the first half boring, because I was like, oh, okay, so they're building up. I'm like, I could kind of feel it, and I could tell someone was new. That guitar tone, I was like, there's no way. It was way more modern. So, yeah, but I will admit, by the end, I was like, well, that was just not good.
Ah, yeah. So the whole just didn't add up to anything for you.
If that song came out in 1998, it would have been good.
Is it just because it's that type of music existed better at that time?
It was the time that those 80s artists were kind of modernizing with a more, more modern metal guitar tone. You know what I mean? Like the band, they were kind of trying to switch it up. They were experimenting around that time.
Yeah, they were trying to not be lost in the times.
Correct. They kind of dropped the hair metal shtick and tried to go for that.
Let's be less beautiful and be more sad.
And on a side note, while I was looking for that, this is just totally random. POD just released a new album. Can you believe it?
You know what, Ryan? That makes me feel so alive.
So alive.
For the very first time.
For the very first time.
I just remember
And I
that was
think I'm
POD. They
alive.
played that music video over and over and over again. Back
Yes.
at the dying years of when there was still occasionally a music video on TV.
Right. But that's why I'm kind of chuckling at the fact that I saw it. Nothing against them. I I didn't know they were still active.
Huh. Well, I mean, good for them. Good for them. They're obviously, I don't know, successful enough that they're still getting booked, and there's some record. There's someone's paying to get that shit recorded.
I did see them on tour, so that explains it. So there you go. Just on a side note, Veritas by POD just released literally last week, so check it out.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into POD, hey, new POD.
I'm probably going to jam it later because I'm just reminding myself of it now.
That's cool. I get it. So you guys, I want to say something about this next topic.
Yeah.
So, when Disney bought Fox, everyone knows that, right? So a few years ago, they bought Fox, and that's why it's now 20th Century Studios anytime a Fox thing comes out. It's because it's owned by Disney. And part of that was acquiring properties that Fox previously owned and now Disney can own, like the X-Men or the Deadpool movies. So there was big talk about, like, well, are we just going to erase everything that happened? Well, obviously, because they're not part of the MCU. We don't want to try to make that work. But Deadpool was so successful. People are like, what are we going to do? And then they're like, all right, we'll bring Deadpool in the MCU. Everyone wondered how we were going to do it. And it turns out it's during this multiverse saga, which makes sense. Deadpool in the Fox universe is a different universe than the MCU. He is traveling over. Great. Everyone's on board. But how are we going to do it? Well, it turns out Ryan Reynolds had many ideas of how they were going to do it. And he working with Kevin Feige to try to basically find the best way to fit it into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's kind of what this whole thing's about. And I'm excited because Deadpool is going to show a lot of characters from the X-Men universe from Fox. And it's just kind of like a big event. All right. So jump in.
He's going to be Marvel Jesus.
Haha. That was a good part of it.
Kevin Feige passed on 18 Deadpool treatments.
Yeah, that's what I said. He had a lot of ideas.
Fitting Deadpool in the MCU seems like an obvious choice now, but it turns out it was a bit of a difficult journey. And Kevin Feige actually turned down 18 treatments and 25 different ideas from Ryan Reynolds before the pair settled on the best way to get Deadpool into the fray. Feige shared with Empire, "The truth is, I wasn't even sure how to incorporate Deadpool yet. I was very much thinking about how to bring mutants and the X-Men into the MCU, and I thought it needed to be more than just playing the hits. But the truth is, Ryan is an idea machine. So he may have pitched that to me, but he also pitched 25 other thoughts and ideas." And Reynolds meanwhile noted, "I went back to the drawing board, and I wrote up about 18 different treatments. Some of them almost like a Sundance film, and a budget under $10 million. Sort of using the IP in a way that they previously hadn't used. And I pitched bigger movies, and I pitched things in between." That was my best Ryan Reynolds.
That was a decent Ryan Reynolds.
I noticed.
I did notice you were doing it.
I was trying to. I was getting better as I went along.
You had a little bit of better cadence. Yeah, the cadence wasn't bad. You were doing all right.
Yeah, because he's got this, like, really. He brings it up.
He's a matter of fact kind
Yeah,
of guy.
yeah. So many Deadpool movies that could have. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So many Deadpool movies that could have been, but that just makes us even more excited for Deadpool and Wolverine. We guess it must be just right. So that's what I was just saying. There could have been 25 other fucking movies.
Well, I heard one version was they had to save Christmas.
Yeah, I did hear about that. I thought that was going to be the one because honestly, Christmas movies, when it comes to like funny franchises like this, I think do well. But I mean, maybe they always don't. Maybe I'm just biased and I love them.
I think we just like them.
And if nothing else, this teaches us to always try and try again. We can't imagine being turned down by Kevin Feige 18 to 25 times. But Ryan Reynolds shows us persistence pays.
Well, to be fair, it's not like there was ever a question that Deadpool would be in the MCU. It made a lot of money and they had decided. So, he could have pitched him 1,000 times. Eventually, they were gonna do it. It was just a matter of how we do it, Ryan. How do we do it?
And obviously, that just makes me really like Feige a lot because that shows that he knows it, where he could see the talent, where he was like, well, you're able to come up with this. Do another one. Do a better one.
Oh my God.
That was fast. Do a few more.
Yeah. I liked 15 of the 200 treatments I got, so get those and elaborate on them, and I'll see which ones I like. It just keeps going and going and going and going.
And this is the shit right here that we're talking about when it comes to people don't understand how hard these motherfuckers work. Reynolds writing that, how many scripts? That's a lot of fucking work.
Well, treatments, but there's it's still work. Trust me, it's not easy to do a treatment. It's breaking down like story beats and everything, and plot points and characters.
And it's not like the guy has free time. Like
Well-
the dude is always doing something.
That's true. This is part of his free time. He does this for fun. He writes random Deadpool movies.
I'm just saying, like, I'm impressed. It's good to hear about a dude who like earns that position that he's in. you
I'm
know?
impressed too. Yeah. Speaking of hard workers, one of the hardest worker in Hollywood, James Gunn.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah?
Yeah, well, like Kevin Feige, he's now the Kevin Feige of DC. So he's doing all the new DC movies.
Yeah.
And the newest one, Superman, is the first one that's coming out. Anyways, they just dropped a photo.
They did, and I'm looking at it right now. He looks fantastic.
I'd say so.
Superman First Look unveils David Cornsweet as James Gunn's Man of Steel.
Ooh.
Warner Brothers treated CinemaCon attendees to a first look at DC's Kryptonian Titan. David Cornsweet is Superman. Cornsweet arrives in the first look at Superman, the film written and directed by James Gunn that will anchor the newly made over DC cinematic universe.
We're doing it over, guys. It's a brand new universe, starting over. Here's the first film. Are you ready? We're taking it back. Taking it back. None of this Snyder dreary stuff. We're going to make it a little bit more hopeful.
Here we go. I'm ready. Gunn, who also leads DC Studios with Peter Safran, showed a mere glimpse of the costume while announcing the start of filming on Superman in February. But now we have our full look. James Gunn has been actively shooting down rumors about the film left and right, often on social media platform threads. When production began, photos started circulating online with the apparent leaked look on Cornsweet in his full costume. However, Gunn was quick to confirm that those were doctored. Gunn reiterated in a recent post on Threads for skeptical fans, the primary protagonist of Superman is, shockingly, Superman. The main villain of Superman is, shockingly, Lex Luthor.
Yeah, he's trying to get it clear that like this is a Superman movie, guys. This isn't a place where we're gonna just put 1,000 other characters to try to launch the DCEU. You know what I mean?
No, taking it back. This
Yeah.
is his way of being like, this is going to be my Superman.
Well, like Superman versus Batman, it also introduced Wonder Woman and tried to introduce the Flash to try to introduce all these other characters, and it seemed like they were more concerned with being like, we have a whole universe coming than that movie. So
Right.
that's what he's trying to say. Is he's basically, guys, this is a Superman movie. So when you read, I've cast this person as this character, you don't know how they're going to show up in the movie. This is a Superman movie.
And at this point, DC has got to try whatever they can. Because I love DC. It's just they've had such a rough run with a lot of their films. I loved the Batman. I loved the first Aquaman. I still want to see the second one. I'm going to watch it.
Well, see, even you are confused about what's canon and what's not, and that's why
Exactly.
they got to restart it. Because the Batman wasn't canon to that DCEU, and
No.
it's not apparently going to be canon to this new one. It is an Elseworld story, kind of like Joker.
Yeah, I was about to say, and then we've got the new Joker.
Yeah, so those are not connected to the new universe. Those are they're outside movies.
Right. And I'm cool with that because DC has that ability, I think, because there is a darker side to DC and there's a lighter side, and you can play both fields.
Well, you can. There's this great story called Gotham. Was it Gotham by Gaslight? And it's Batman, but it's Batman in like the 1800s fighting Jack the Ripper. And
Nice.
they did a cartoon of it, and I really liked it. And I've always wanted to do a movie, and that can never happen if it's all one universe. You have to have these outside movies where it's just an isolated situation. Otherwise, you're beholden to what's already come before.
And I will say that that's kind of a new thing too. So like I don't have a problem with that, with a movie coming out with like the same name that's completely different. You know what I mean? Like a different kind of universe. Like what happened before didn't happen in this one. I think it's kind of a newer thing with all these comic book movies that they have to be chronological and they have to tie in and all this stuff. Like,
Well, we have an extended universe, and now we're
Right.
going to have the not so extended other random movies. And really, it's just what we used to do.
and we got the end of the article here. It says previously titled Superman Legacy, Superman revolves around Kal-El trying to balance his Kryptonian heritage with his upbringing as Clark Kent from Smallville. When I finished the first draft of the script, I called the film Superman Legacy. Gunn explained in a social media post in February. By the time I locked the final draft, it was clear the title was Superman. Making our way to you, July 2025. Superman is scheduled to open in theaters July 11th, 2025.
Yeah, so next year, it's almost a year away, so we get our first images. I don't know, I'm excited for as much as I'd ever be excited for a Superman movie, because not all superhero movies are like, woo, yay, to me. Like, I enjoy certain characters, and I'll watch Superman movie, but Superman was never like my huge favorite. He was more of like a TV thing when I was really little, because they had the adventures of Lois and Clark, and I was
Yeah,
young in
I
the
remember that.
90s. I was under 10.
I remember being young and thinking that Superman was the most boring superhero just because it was like, unless you have this rock from this planet that was blown up in like the middle of the fucking universe, you can't do shit to stop this man. Like,
I mean, to be fair, they have years and years and years of Superman comics where they had to have found a way to stop him, right? Otherwise, those
Other
got to
than-
be boring comics.
that's the way I always felt about it. But then I told you literally, I think I watched Man of Steel for the first time like a year or two ago. Like, because I just always was, but I finally fell in love with Henry Cavill from what he did in The Witcher. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I loved it.
Yeah,
I only
I
saw
liked
that
Man
one.
of Steel too. That was one of the best in the, I should say, the old DC universe.
And
I really liked it. I thought, who else? The dad who played it, John Kent.
yeah,
What's
yeah,
his name?
It was, oh man,
Kevin Costner.
yes.
I think he did a really good job.
And then his actual father was,
Was it Russell Crowe?
Russell
Russell
Crowe.
Crowe, and he rode a dragon. And it's like, if you tell me there's a Superman movie where Russell Crowe rides a space dragon, I'm on board.
Superman. That Superman Man of Steel movie, I will say, was a superhero movie that was dressed like a alien movie. Because it really was very
Well,
alien.
to be fair, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be alien-esque because
But it was the-
Superman is an alien.
Right, but it was the most it really felt like that was really the story. You know what I mean? That it was about like, oh, this is an alien story. Like, it's not, to me, it was always Superman was, yeah, he was an alien, but he was on Earth and he was a superhero.
Yes, I get that, and I think focusing more on the alien stuff might be why I enjoyed it so
Me too.
much. That's why I would have really liked to see the Superman Lives, the Tim Burton movie that never came out.
Yes.
Because that whole thing was Tim Burton's sensibility of being like an outsider, you know
Wasn't
what I mean?
that
Think
Kevin
about all his
Smith?
movies. No, well, Kevin Smith wrote a draft of it, but there's like 8 drafts.
Right. And
Anyways, the movie never
yeah.
came out.
And I know that they did like a whole documentary I want to watch.
Yeah, the late John Schnepp did The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? And it was a good documentary. Covered the whole basis of basically the whole pre-production, why it ultimately got shut down.
And I support Superman having long hair. I like that he had the long hair.
Everyone should support Superman having long hair because that came out of the 90s and the metal age. So that's
Yeah.
why. Okay, guys. Well, that'll just about do it for today. And so thanks for listening to this week's Earthling Entertainment. If you guys want to support us, if you like what you hear, please download the episodes. And I cannot stress that any more. Please download the episodes. Ryan, you have
Yeah.
anything else?
Nope. Just, yeah, like Joe said, please stream, please download it. Helps us out a lot. We really appreciate you. If you've been a listener for a long time, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shoot us a message. We'd love to talk about something if there's something we haven't covered, please shoot us a message on Facebook. That's the best way to get a hold of us.
Yes. So, thanks for listening, guys. For real. We'll see you next week. And as always, we are Earthling Entertainment.
Yeah.
See ya.
Goodbye.
We're not just hacks. We're doing a show here, bud. We have dancing monkeys around the studio. It's a problem because it's an audio medium and you can't see them, but we got them so we could feel big and we tell them what to do. They're not good butlers. They only know how to dance.
But
Making
I mean,
tea, not helpful.
And I know you guys can't see it at home, but they're really good dancers.
It's true. I'm a little worried about this one's commitment, though. He's just sitting in the corner.
Oh,
Hey,
he's staring at
Come on,
you.
Carl. Carl, don't you throw that.
What's he got in his hand?
Don't you throw that.
Hey.
Ah.
All right, get the other one to clean it up. What's the other one's name?
You didn't name him? No wonder he's pissed.
Let's call him Vance. Hey, Vance,
What's up?
clean that up. All
Yeah,
right.
like I said, Monkey Butler's not helpful.
Yeah, we try to keep a clean studio, but it's hard to find good help.